Hi everybody, this is Judy at Judy in the Kitchen. Today we're continuing our summary of Dr. Michael Greger's book, How Not to Die. I highly recommend you are getting this book and reading it if you are at all interested in taking care of your health. And it's not how not to die, period. I mean, we're all going to die at some point in time, but it's how not to die from the leading causes of death, not only in the United States, but in many of the countries around the world. So I highly recommend it, and my review is not a substitute for reading the book. So try to get it if you can. If not, check it out at your library and read it that way. Today we're covering chapters 5 and 6. And chapter 5 is how not to die from infections. Now the key to helping to prevent serious infections is to maintain a healthy immune system, especially as we age. And he outlines what to do and what not to do in the chapters. First of all, what not to do. First, we want to avoid animal products to greatly reduce the risk of food poisoning. In particular, we're talking about salmonella. Eggs have a high chance of being contaminated with salmonella. The bacterium has been found to survive in eggs that were scrambled and cooked over easy and even sunny side up. And this one is incredible to me. It's been found to also survive in eggs that were boiled up to 8 minutes. That's a real testament for the strength of the salmonella bacterium. Eating chicken is the most common source of salmonella poisoning. It is well established that thorough cooking of chicken kills the bacterium. But the main concern really is cross-contamination. Those germs can easily be spread from packaging to hands, utensils, kitchen surfaces when the raw poultry is being handled, okay? To avoid this, it's really important. You want to practice safe cooking and food preparation methods when you are handling raw poultry. The best way to avoid such contaminants is either to avoid chicken and eggs altogether or clean everything that they possibly could have touched or that you might have touched with your hands during the handling of the raw foods. You want to clean it with bleach. Another potential source of serious food poisoning could be Yersinia. Researchers tested samples of pork products from across the United States and found that over 2/3 of the pork was contaminated with Yersinia. This has been attributed to the overcrowding conditions the animals are subjected to in industrial farms. No surprise there. The problem is being passed on to those who handle the raw meat that becomes contaminated with feces during the slaughterhouse process. And that includes you. Another bacterium to be concerned with is the superbug C. difficile, also called C. diff. The Centers for Disease Control, CDC, has found that 42%, that's a lot, 42% of packaged meat products sold at 3 national chain grocery stores sampled contained the toxin-producing C. diff bacteria. Now, under usual circumstances, healthy bacteria in the human gut can control C. diff after we're infected with the pathogen. But when our gut bacteria becomes disrupted, like if we've taken antibiotics, C. diff infections can arise, causing a range of conditions from inflammatory bowel disease to the potentially deadly toxic megacolon. Unfortunately, C. diff is not killed during usual cooking methods and times. So avoiding possibly contaminated foods would be the best way to prevent infection. Now, what to do to help prevent these infections? First point, you want to eat 5 or more servings of fruits and vegetables each day. In a study with 83 subjects between the ages of 65 and 85, subjects were divided into 2 groups. Half of the subjects, the control group, ate less than 3 servings a day of fruits and vegetables. The other half, the experimental group, ate at least 5 servings a day. All of the subjects were vaccinated against pneumonia, and they were tested for their antibody response to the vaccine. After a few months of their diets, those who ate 5 or more servings a day of fruits and vegetables had an 82% greater protective antibody response to the vaccine compared with the control group. That says a lot for eating your fruits and vegetables. Next point is to eat more kale. We've all heard that one before. It's a dark green leafy vegetable. Kale is one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. It may help to fight off infection. Japanese researchers found that even a minuscule amount of raw kale dipped in human white blood cells in a petri dish quadrupled their antibody production. Researchers also conducted this experiment with cooked kale. It was boiled for 30 minutes and it had similar, actually even better results. Next point, eat more broccoli and other cruciferous vegetables. This family of vegetables, of which kale is a member, of course, contains compounds needed for the maintenance of the body's intestinal defenses against microbial invaders. Special white blood cells called intraepithelial lymphocytes condition and repair the intestinal lining and also serve as our first line of defense in the intestinal tract against pathogens. The cells are activated by factors in cruciferous vegetables. These immune-boosting effects have not only been found to protect us against pathogens in food, but also pollutants in the environment. Next point, eat more berries, especially blueberries. Berries, and especially blueberries, have been found to boost our levels of natural killer cells. That's a type of white blood cell that provides rapid response against viruses and cancerous cells. Eat more berries, folks. Next point, add exercise to your day. When compared with a sedentary control group, researchers found that those who did aerobic exercises for 30 minutes 3 times a week for 12 weeks had a 50% increase in their levels of IgA in their saliva. Now, IgA is immunoglobulin A, and these are antibodies in mucosal barriers that neutralize and prevent viruses from entering the body in the first place. So these things are really important. The exercising group reported significantly fewer respiratory infection symptoms. Exercising helps. Next point, include mushrooms in your diet. Researchers in Australia found that those who included a cup of cooked mushrooms in their daily diet had a 50% increase in the immunoglobulin A antibody levels in their saliva when compared with those who did not eat mushrooms. Also, the elevated IgA levels remained high for about a week before dropping after stopping the mushrooms. That's quite a valuable hint there for eating mushrooms. Next chapter, how not to die from diabetes. The vast majority, 90 to 95% of diabetes cases is classified as type 2 diabetes. In this disease, fat accumulates inside muscle cells, causing insulin resistance, preventing insulin from doing its job of opening pathways so glucose can enter the cells. Dietary saturated fat is what appears to block the glucose channels. Excess body fat may also be responsible for the blockages. Medical practitioners are typically taught how to manage the disease, but there is a lot of evidence that the condition is almost always preventable and often treatable and sometimes reversed through diet and lifestyle changes. What not to do: avoid animal products and saturated fats. This includes all animal foods like eggs and fatty milk products. Studies have shown that the prevalence of diabetes is far greater in those who eat animal foods than those who follow a whole food, plant-based vegan diet. Saturated fat, which is prevalent in just about all animal foods, appears to be toxic to the beta cells of the pancreas, and those are the cells that produce insulin. Researchers exposed beta cells to saturated fat and LDL, which is our undesirable cholesterol, in a petri dish. The beta cells began to die off. Not good. The same effect was not observed when the beta cells were exposed to monounsaturated fats like those found in nuts. When saturated fat is consumed, both the action of insulin and the secretion of insulin are impaired within hours. The more saturated fat you have in your blood, the higher your risk may be for developing type 2 diabetes. Oh, that says a lot. What to do? You want to follow a whole food, plant-based diet. The evidence is clear that those who follow a whole food, plant-based diet have far less risk of developing type 2 diabetes than those who are omnivores. Researchers have even compared the rate of diabetes among comparable normal weight omnivores and vegans, all with low levels of body fat. The omnivores had a higher rate of type 2 diabetes because, despite their weight, they had more fat in their cells than the vegans. The plant-based eaters had better insulin sensitivity, blood sugar levels, insulin levels, and pancreas function than the omnivores. Researchers have found that diet alone works better than surgery or added insulin in the quest of treating diabetes. Dietary changes address the bottom line of the cause of the disease rather than just treating the symptoms. Researchers have found that subjects who ate a diet centered on whole plant foods have actually reversed their diabetes independent of weight loss. Following a diet of at least 90% or more plant-based, consisting of all-you-can-eat greens, lots of other vegetables, and beans, whole grains, fruits, nuts, and seeds, while omitting refined grains, junk food, and oil, was what it took to do the trick. I sure hope this helps you out. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. Again, I advise you to get this book and have it in your library. It's valuable. Take care. Bye for now.